on the dashboard so we can make sure that we get them all in the correct order that they come in through. Or you can just sit here and try to listen to Grant speak. Some people like that.
Can't make me laugh, Heather. Um, got my cough back.
Terribly sorry about that.
um, all right. So we're now on. So the other thing that I do, I think I've spoken before, is I'll show you this little trick. Since I was late to doing it, I'll just show you what happens here. Just going to share my screen. There we go. So this is the live stream that's just started on YouTube. So I put this name in. The thing that I do, I'm logged into that. The thing that I do is I go save, and then it's a playlist. And so a playlist of Obvio Q&A calls, and that's it. And so what happens then is when you look at the dashboard of this event that you just came in, you'll see that I've got a playlist. And look, the very first thing that's showing is the actual live stream right now. So because I've embedded the playlist on the dashboard, whatever I put into that YouTube playlist goes in reverse chronological order. So the first one that it shows is the most recent. And then you can see here, there's all of the calls since we started live streaming them. So it just makes it really easy for accessing. Sometimes people don't realize how easy it is. You can literally just click the link that you did to get to this event live. You can click that anytime, that email, and come and catch up on the time that we had together. And the nice thing is, of course, when you are in YouTube, you could change the speed. you could breeze through it quickly, and so it's a way of catching up on it. So there you go. Just because I was a little bit late, I used it as an opportunity to show how the live stream works. All right. So Heather, have we got any questions there yet?
Yeah, Muddy posted one. Well, he has his hand raised. Did you want to say
that? Grant, you were talking about so two questions around live streaming. So is it true that anyone can live stream from an Obvio meeting? Yes. And is it true that only the host, who can start the live stream? Can a co-host start the live stream, or does it have to be the host?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, it has to be the host. Only the host has the access to the live stream button. Yeah. So we swapped that around. Heather was the host. She gave it to me, and then I was able to start the live stream. Very good. A couple of softball questions there from Muddy, who knew the answers very well. And he softball threw them to me to make me look like I know the answers, and actually he knows the answers. Thank you, Muddy. Often thinking not just for yourself, thinking about everyone else and how they can learn about live streaming. Well done. Next question.
Yeah, so Muddy posted that he saw a question from Nicole last night in Obvio on her first Obvio event. Her question was about what link to send to participants in advance of check-in. Would you mind sharing a bit about sending login links from Obvio or from third-party email systems?
Yeah, so Nicole's not with us this morning yet, right? Today.
No, she's running her first event. I think today is day 0. So last night she was saying, hey, I've got check-in starts tomorrow. I don't know what link to send. So Justin connected with her, got her squared away. But I just thought, timing is good. Folks are starting to do their first events. Quite a few leapers are doing their first event. So it's one of those things you don't think about until it's time. And then it's like, uh-oh, It's 10 o'clock at night. I have
Yeah.
no idea what I'm supposed to be doing now. So
How are we getting those links out? Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. So there's a few different ways of getting those links to people. Ideally, the the easiest way for the attendees is to get that login URL or like a magic link. We call it a magic link because it has a unique identifier in the link, and that makes the person log in directly to the dashboard. They don't have to put in any email or password or anything like that. They just click that link and they're straight in the same way that you have to enter this meeting. It's that same link. So that's the easiest from the attendees' point of view. We have created a few other ways to do it sometimes where you want to just be able to send out the same link to everyone. You want to send the same email to all people and have them log in. And that's where that sign up feature comes in. That's one way of doing it. So often this is like I think of like the decision trees, where you've got now, is it a paid event or a free event? And that's a key distinction to make, because when it's a free event, making it super easy for people to get in, like using the sign up feature, which means that all they have to do is put in their first name, last name, and email, and now they're in. And so particularly for a free event, that's a good way to do it. I can show you, just so we're kind of looking at the right things here. Can show you where you find those details. Let me have a look. There we go. So I've gone into the sidebar here in design and then sign up. And if I enable that, then you can see what the address is. It's basically whatever your Obvio address is /sign up. And it means now that people literally just first name, last name, email, and that log in. And the nice thing with this too is even if they've already signed up before, when they come back and do this again, they're in, right? And so you might find, particularly if it's a free event, that sending this link out to people, to everyone, means that it makes it really easy for people to join. Let's assume though that it's not a free event, it's a paid event, and you want to be a bit more restrictive about exactly who is being able to enter. As I was saying, the best for the attendee is receiving that link directly, and the best way to send that, or the easiest way to send that, is directly from Obvio as well, using the broadcast features, communication broadcast, and being able to send there's a couple of little things there to set up. First of all, you go to your organization settings. I can't quite do that on this one. I'm not the owner of this one, but the organization settings is where you add the email address of where you want the email to come from, or at least it's the reply to email. So if someone gets your welcome email, your login email, and they want to reply to you, what's the address that you want that to go to? So it's possibly going to be a support email or something that you've got for your event. So you need to have at least an email set up, an email address. You put that into the organization settings, you verify it, and now it's done. And so then it comes up in here as an option to choose. So we put a few different ones in there, but this is an example there. And now we're literally just saying that we're putting in, if we can do this. Hi. So there's like the merge codes, right? There's like putting that into the email. Hello, first name. Here is your event dashboard, whatever you want to call it, right? Dashboard link. A couple of different ways to do that. The link itself, just raw, is like that. That's not necessarily an actual link, But if we were to do that and that and that, this is what this is doing, is saying, let's make this a link. And now let's make it the login URL. And away it goes like that. So now that's putting the whole actual link in there. What you may want to do is, say if I wanted to make this dashboard link here, I want to make the word dashboard the actual link. I can do that. Say it's going to be the login URL. That now has made the word dashboard a link to the dashboard. And then the last option here, I'm down a bit of a rabbit warren here with Muddy, but this is kind of like just showing the communications about an easy way to be able to send their emails out. So now we can choose dashboard here. I've changed the text and I'll change the link. What we'll do there, we still need to put that little shortcut in there. I'm copying this text as the merge code and I'm putting it right in here as the link. So there we go. Login underscore URL. Great. And now that is a button in your email that's going to take people straight to their dashboard. And then it's going to tell you who it's sending to, how many people it's sending to. You'll put a subject in and you'll put your a name for the email. It's just an internal name for your reference. And then the exact time you want it to send. So you can schedule these all out. And generally, my advice to people is that anything that you can automate and schedule before your event even starts, the better off you are. So sometimes you think, oh, I'll worry about the day 2 emails at the end of day 1. It's like, if there's no reason that you need to do that as early as you can. You can do that a week out. You're like, okay, I've got day 1, the end of day 1 planned, and the day 2, email sent and reminder emails, and all that can all be scheduled. And now you just don't need to think about it. And so it's worth thinking about those things. So this is a way that this will now send an email to all of your attendees, and this link is unique to them, and it'll take them straight to the dashboard. So that's another way of doing it. Another way, again, is you may have an integration where we talk about our services. These are when we have these different services as customer relationship management systems and lists. And really, if you haven't thought of this before, all it is really the management of your ongoing list. It's like the relationship that you've had ongoing with someone, so that you can track, oh yeah, they came to that event and then they signed up to this, and then 6 months later they signed up to this. That's what a CRM is for. Obvio is for running your event. Like it's just for, it's like a membership site, but a temporary membership site that's based around your event. And so if you want to be tracking more data than just one event, then that's when you use a system like one of these. And they all work very similarly. They have their own different ways of doing it, but the concept is the same, that when someone signs up to your event, it sends over to Obvio a first name, last name, and email, and Obvio creates an attendee and sends back the login URL. You then store that in a custom field in one of these systems. And now when you go to send out a campaign, send out your, a scheduled email blast, it can include that custom URL for that person. And that's how they're going to get in. So that's a more advanced approach. And I would suggest that most people, when they're doing their first event, that they may not necessarily need or have one of these systems set up. But I'm just covering it to make it clear that that's a possibility. Lots of these things, when we're thinking about what are the options that are available to do things in Obvio, has been the iteration of Obvio and how it's grown over time. And so it makes some sense when we didn't have the broadcast feature for a long time. And so you had to use something else to send it out. And so, lots of people using MailChimp to be able to send their emails out. There wasn't a way to send it in Obvio. So now you can see the sort of overlapping functionality that can achieve the same thing. So then I guess I glossed over a very basic option as well. And sometimes this is a good option for people that maybe only have 15 or 20 people that have come to their event, which is great. You can do an export. An export of your attendees will show you. It will give you the login URL, and some people are very happy just creating those emails and just copying and pasting the login URL. Here's your URL, and there you go. And so that's another option. And then there's a few other sort of login options that you can do with when it comes to here. So if you go to your event page, if you look at this address without /signup, it's going to take you to a login page. And so this is another option for getting people into your event where you may want to just send the same link to everyone. And so there's a couple of things here. You can see here that we set a let me go. Sorry. Okay. It's been a while since I've done this now. That's the text for there. That's the forget password option there. This is the
Maybe that's
login.
setting right underneath the icon. Are you looking for like setting the default password?
Yeah.
Right below.
It's under the event settings. At the bottom of the event settings page.
At the bottom of the settings.
Yeah, go up to event and then settings.
Oh, as far as that one goes, yes.
Setting the default and or allowing email only login.
That's what the student becomes the teacher.
Exactly. Well, let's be honest. Muddy has always been the teacher.
He's a adjunct professor in this world of Obvio, clearly.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. It is, and it is an event setting that makes sense because now what we're doing is thinking about how people are getting into the event. So here, the default password. Now, once again, the reason that we got here is that initially in Obvio, we were asking people to set a password the first time that they came. And you can still do that, but it's rarely a feature anyone uses now. So that iterated out to where it was like, well, what about we can set a default password so that the password's the same for everyone. So if you want to send the same URL to everyone and not send an individual email to everyone, then you can send this and say, put your email in, put this password in, and now you'll enter the event. And so that's what that default password is. However, there's also an option that's a little bit newer, and that's allow email only. So now don't need a password. It literally just has that login page with the email field. Now you're sending the same address to everyone, and then they're getting and then they're just putting their email address in, and then they enter the event. So the challenge, I think, that a little bit that we have with Obvio is when we create, lots of these different options. Some people just tell me what I'm going to do, like just tell me what the way is to do it. And it's just a philosophical thing that, I'm sort of working through with Blue, is like, I'll be making it more complex than it needs to be because we're creating all these different options. Some people know exactly what they want to do. And some people, as they're starting out, they're not sure. You just tell me, how am I getting my links to people? Which is why the first thing I showed is the broadcast. That's absolutely the best way. That's best for the attendees. It's something that you can program and schedule up, and it's the easiest way to get those out. It's the way that I think of it. Marla, is it a question around this stuff?
Yes. So I have a Facebook group and I do a weekly live. And I've not been using Obvio, but I recently set up an Obvio dashboard because I thought, why not use that for my Facebook Live?
Nice.
And I have high level. And I know Blue had walked me through integrating before, and I can't figure it out. So I was hoping maybe I could screen share and just to kind of make sure I have the custom fields set up correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once again, I'm glad that Muddy's on. I haven't used high level all that much, but we'll work it out together.
Okay. So I'm in Obvio.
I think it's a great move, by the way, to have to move people from Facebook into Zoom, like into that experience.
So now my understanding is if I go to attendees, with right now I just have myself, and then services. So I'm linked already.
Great.
Is this like, do I have to do anything with?
Jump in, Muddy.
Yeah. So you were in the right spot. So with the high level integration, Obvio, each of the integrations works slightly differently, but the way that they all work is that there's a tag, either a tag that you tell Obvio, or in this case, a tag that Obvio tells you, right? So it's grayed out because you must use that tag.
Okay.
So if you copy that tag, it'll put it on your clipboard. Now in high level, any attendee that you add that tag to will get sucked into Obvio as an attendee. Will automatically get kind of pulled over and created as an attendee in Obvio. So, so if you wanted to, if you have a test user, if you have someone in your system and you add that tag to them.
So here is so do I put it as a custom field or custom value?
So there's the way the integrations work is two parts. So first of all, Obvio is looking for a tag in order to bring the attendee from your CRM into Obvio as an attendee. And then what it's going to send back to your CRM is the login URL. And the login URL is going to go into a custom field. So you'll need both a tag and a field, but one is kind of one that Obvio is looking for, and then the custom field is what Obvio will send back.
So I'm going to do
that tag. Yep.
Right.
This is the one you just pasted, or you just copied, I mean.
Yeah, okay.
So you probably just put Control V there.
That's fine. Well, does it need a different, the name is the actual tag.
The tag is the actual, that thing. Yep, exactly. Okay. So you've now created that as a tag in high level. Now you'll want to go and create a custom field where the login URL is going to land. Okay, so this is going to be a field. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a login URL specific to this event, right? So it's not just a general Obvio login. It's going to be specific for that event. So it looks
this
like
is
LIT
Living It Together Obvio login.
Perfect. Yep. So if you go back to Obvio,
But I think this is where I messed this up, right?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
you're
Okay.
good there. So what we need to do on the Obvio integration page is, yeah, you set it up right there. So it normally when you first come here, this login URL
Yeah,
field is blank, and
this
you
one.
need
Okay.
to tell Obvio what's the name of the field where you want me to send the login URL.
Okay, so the piece I missed was just setting up a new tag in high level, maybe.
That's right. And so the way that this works is any of your people who are in the Facebook group, if they're in your CRM system, all you need to do is add that special tag to them, Obvio-living it together.
Yeah,
Add that tag to their contact record. Do you know how to add a tag to a contact record?
let's
So
see.
go back, you're in settings right now. So go back and go to contacts. And you could do it in bulk by selecting several people, but I'll show you if you just go to one person.
Okay, this is mine.
Yeah, so click the name. The name is
Oops,
actually
wait,
blank
hold
for
on,
that
that's the
one.
wrong one. That's a bounced one. Okay, this is the one.
Yeah, so rather than checking it, click the actual name and that'll open the contact record.
Okay.
Yep, and then you can scroll down on the left-hand side till you get to the section where there are tags. Oh, we may have gone past it, maybe not.
I feel like okay, so this is the way Blue and I had done it. We had a special thing here. But that
Yep,
was
so that was for a
my,
specific event, right? So that
yeah.
was, yep. So we're doing it the same way, but let's see. I think
Oh,
tags
okay,
were
so
up
I have
higher.
two. This one I can get rid of. It looks like I already put it here.
Well, yes, but you'll notice it's blank,
Yeah.
right? So it's because this attendee doesn't have the tag yet. The tag needs to go in first, and that will bring them into Obvio. So scroll up to the section of tag. Oh no,
Okay.
here they are, right? So if you just start to type that Obvio, this is that special tag that you have to use that's specific, that one, Obvio dash. Yep. Now that you've added that tag to the contact in your CRM, within about 5 minutes or so, I think it pulls about every 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Obvio will see that, and this attendee you'll now have two attendees. They're both Marla, but you'll have two attendees in your Obvio event.
Okay.
As soon as that attendee shows up in Obvio through this integration, it's also going to send back the magic link, the login URL. So if you check this contact record in 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see that LIT Obvio login custom field is now filled in
right here
with their correct. Yep.
Okay.
And that's how you can know that it worked.
Okay. And the last thing that I did on my previous event was I set it up so that I had trigger links that connected them right into the dashboard just with the link. Is that I'm forgetting where to set that up.
By trigger link, you mean this is the link that you would email them and it would bring them right to the dashboard?
But it was custom with this login field. So
Yeah,
this login,
yeah. So that for each person, that field is going to be unique. So
right.
It's not one general link for everyone. It's going to be a unique link for each person.
Right.
So then in an email, either in marketing or
yes,
or if you have an automation, if you would set up an email sequence, and it's going to say, here is your login URL, and what you're going to put in that is a merge code. If you want to go to marketing and create a draft email, I'll show you.
I know how to do that. I think it's just setting up the trigger link piece. Let me just see quick. It was like I had an obvious. I just want to see if this is where it is. Yeah. So here for this one, it was the masterclass series. And then this I could just set up as a trigger link. So I can just add a link here. Have you done that before?
Yeah. So you can add a link there, and you can call it the LIT Obvio dashboard link if you want.
Okay.
So, Muddy, is this a trigger link is not required necessarily, right? Like you can use custom fields in your emails anyway. A trigger
and in
link
fact, that's
is
where we're going to go find it.
Yeah, but
Oh, so is this an unnecessary step then?
it's not that it's not unnecessary. As far as I understand, it's actually for tracking. Is more of the information, right? So
See who clicked on the link.
Correct. Yeah, it's actually
Okay.
about tracking that and seeing that you've identified and tracked that they clicked it. Now, arguably, going to the dashboard is kind of an event in its own right, and you know that they came. You don't really need to track it, right?
Got it. Okay, let's not complicate it then.
But yeah, but a trigger link, if it was like it was a particular call to action, and you wanted to know that they you're advertising another event, and it goes off to a sales page or something, and now you've tracked that they went there. Oh, now that's interesting, because now you can see that they've got interest in that. Whereas them just going to the dashboard, you may not necessarily need to track that.
Because I'll know that with the attendance anyway, right?
Exactly. Correct. Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, both of you. Appreciate it, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, the what Grant had showed through the communication system in Obvio, where you can use these different merge codes, and one of them is the login URL.
Yes.
You now have the same ability to do that within High Level. So by creating this custom field, Obvio is going to populate that with the login URL, so that now in your email system in High Level, if you go, they're not called merge codes, but I forget what there's a name for them, but it's a drop down that shows all the different first name, last name, all the different kind of things that you could put in. One of those is going to be that Obvio, that LIT Obvio login, that custom field that you created is going to show up in that list.
Okay.
And so now you can select that and drop it right into an email. And for each person, it will bring in their unique link, from the system, as opposed to, one general link.
Okay. So very good. Thank you so much. And then from Obvio, I can stream into my Facebook group as well?
You can, correct. Yep.
Okay. So it might be something with my settings, because when I was trying to do that, one of my Facebook pages was showing up, but not the one I wanted to stream.
So I actually recorded a video about this fairly recently, within the past maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Pretty sure it's in the Leap group. I'll find it for you again and tag you on it.
Okay.
But Facebook about 6 or 8 months ago changed the way that you stream to groups. You can still stream to pages directly, but groups, you have to go into Facebook and kind of create the event in Facebook, or create the live stream in Facebook, and then you're going to connect to that page. So I recorded a video that kind of walks you through those steps, because it's kind of 1 or 2 extra steps, but it's still possible.
Okay. And then one last quick thing. It's all these tech things. I also have eCam. Can I, in Obvio, connect with the eCam or no? Yes.
Yeah. Right. You want to take this one?
Do you recommend that, or not really?
Well, that's two different questions.
Well, I don't want to make my life any harder. Like I want it streamlined and user friendly.
So what was it about eCam that you were like, I want this for my event?
it wasn't necessarily, what was it? It was being able to use the Stream Deck, like, and switch through and not have to stop, pause, screen share, find my documents. So there was an ease to it that I was trying to improve just the overall quality of the screen share in particular.
Yep. That's really valid. Yeah. So as a software switcher is what the way that we think of it. The going from, you know, screen shares or you know, different cameras or whatever it is, that's a great use case for it, particularly screen sharing. So that you're not stopping and starting the screen share, but you're just taking over your camera input, and now they can see, you know, your your screen, and then you can jump in and out of that. So the answer to the first question is absolutely. The way that Ecamm works is kind of like a virtual webcam. You start this, they've all got slightly different names, but that's the concept. Is it's a webcam that the computer sees as a software webcam, and now in Zoom, instead of choosing your internal camera, you'll choose the Ecamm camera.
Okay.
And now anything that you do in Ecamm as a switcher is being seen by Zoom.
Okay. So
Right.
just picking that as the camera, basically.
That's right. So that's
okay. So
that's
the
totally
same way
fine.
I've used it before. Yeah. I just haven't done
Right.
it in Obvio.
Okay, exactly the same. Yep. There's nothing that Obvio is doing with the particular Obvio Zoom setup that requires anything different, because once it sees the camera, then you set it up and away you go. So
Okay. Awesome.
You're familiar with Ecamm, as in you've used it?
I'm learning Ecamm.
Okay.
I'm learning. I've used it a couple times. I also like the overlays from interviewing like two people. It just looks pretty. It looks pretty.
Yeah, it does. It does.
How is it?
Yeah.
Do you have it looks like you have a cautionary tale. I don't know Ecamm, so I'm not a huge Ecamm.
Look, in general, and look, so my hesitation with this always is overcomplicating your system that compromises the connection that you have with people. Because it's very easy. It's very easy to put a heavy cognitive load on yourself when you're trying to host, you're trying to think about the content, you're trying to connect with people, have a good connection. At the same time, you're trying to hit a bunch of buttons, and you're trying to, you know, do this and trying to make this look pretty and try to do whatever, right? Which is all valid. It's a valid thing. Anyway, there we go. It's a good example of my microphone just changed. It's all really the right things to be thinking about. The question is, what is yours to do, and what is it that only you can do, and what is something that you can do really well now versus trying to do everything, and what's the cost of that?
Yeah.
So that's
I think
my
and I think that's part of my rationale for starting to use my Facebook Lives, is kind of a training ground for getting more comfortable and familiar with the tech stuff, and to be able to have my Facebook group members join me in a virtual Zoom versus just streaming to, you know, my running joke is I'm off to my Facebook Live to talk to myself for 20 minutes. I'll be back. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I mean, people watch the recording, but it's not interactive. So that's what I was hoping to elevate that experience.
I think this is at the end of the day, as a tech, you know, guy, and a geek with all this stuff, and thinking about how I, you know, make all these things look pretty and make it all work. The thing that I challenge myself with all the time is, why are people coming? Why are people connecting with me? And the thing is, it'll be about the connection that they have like this, the content that's being shared. And yes, there is some pretty things and things that make it transition well and keep it all moving nicely, and some good like broadcast techniques that are great. But at the end of the day, it'll actually just be the connection that you're having. And so I think the shift that you're doing from thinking about Facebook to Zoom is going to make the biggest difference, because the engagement level that people will have sitting in Zoom versus Facebook is no comparison, right? And the numbers, to your point, it's like, I don't know how many people really, I know some numbers are there. I don't really know how long they've been watching for necessarily, right? I don't know if they were literally just flipping through doom scrolling and they came across the live stream, they watched it for 30 seconds and they moved on, or they were really engaged. And so arguably, I always say I'd rather have 10 people in Zoom that are engaged than 100 or 1,000 people on Facebook that are just kind of loosely there. And I think that's the challenge with Facebook, is that it's a very different I was going to say lean back. It's a very different experience than doing what we're doing now. And so it's a great shift. And I think doing more of that and thinking about how do you engage people more, because I think you can shift the needle 5-10% by increasing your production level. But what are the biggest shifts? The biggest shifts in shifting that engagement level is more about how engaged you are, and more about how you're sharing the content. And now that you're bringing in people, taking questions and like engaging with people, that's far more interesting to people than, and I'm not playing down the production value. I don't hear that at all.
Okay.
Lots of what I think about is whatever size your team is now, how do you get to the next level of increasing your team? I don't ever think the answer is, how do I increase my load? How do I learn more things and do more things? That is not a scalable option. And so what is the minimum I can do to get myself to where I can have someone else manage the production for me?
Yeah.
That's ultimately what we're talking about, right?
I love that idea. Thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you for everything.
anyway.
This has been great, really.
Yes.
One sort of off-topic question. When I'm messing around and like get a recording going, and then I have this Zoom like practice recording that's automatically stored in Obvio, is there a way to delete those?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I just didn't know if
I mean, no one else has access to those, so no one sees those. And so, but yeah, there isn't a delete option at the moment. If there is a process that, and we've had to do this a couple of times, where we've needed to go in and manually delete. If that's an absolute requirement because of some reason, then you can send it.
It was just more about like tidying up the space, but it's fine.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. One way of doing that, managing that, is you can actually delete the room, right? So when you've got your Zoom area and you have rooms in the area, you can create a new room and delete your old room, and now
so maybe like make a practice room or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Helpful. Thank you.
Great. All the best with that. It sounds amazing.
Thank you.
All right.
So Jeff had a question. He is having a challenging sign-up scenario. Can we talk through the requirements and the possible solutions?
Yes.
Sounds like a Jeff question, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Cool. If I can share my screen here real quick. Let's see if this will do it this way. So this is how I have teachers sign up. So this is a school assembly problem. So teachers sign up here, so they're putting their title, what students call them, because a lot of times they don't want students calling them by their first name. And then they enter this for sign up. So that adds a link and they get the teacher experience. Problem I'm having is I always bring a student volunteer on stage. And as much as we try to get the name of that volunteer ahead of time, that doesn't work. And sometimes they won't sign up for the event because, they're not sure how to fill this in. Or the other problem is they will put Mr. or Mrs. or whatever. And then if their camera isn't on right away or whatever, like I don't know who the volunteer is to kind of queue it up backstage. So I almost feel like I need a separate sign up process. It's like a volunteer form. The challenge with using like a Google form or something like that is I could do, like, I just signed a contract to do 4 of these events a day, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room in between. So it's almost like it has to live in Obvio. Like I can't think of a way to easily swap that out, in a Google form between things so that it's, Zapier is doing something on the back end or whatever to add them in. So just curious if you had any ideas, because I'm already using sign up. Not sure how else to generate that.
And you're saying that they don't necessarily sign up? Is that what you're saying? It's like, and so, as in,
Sometimes they will. The other thing is the way I'm bringing them to the stage and spot them is via an application through Stream Deck. And so what appears there that I'm not able to edit, it usually appears by first name only. So I'll get 20 misters and 20 misses, and I don't know which one is a
Right.
student, right? Like I don't know who's who. But I don't have to ever spotlight teachers, so I don't really care that it shows up that way. But I'm not able to find the student easily that way.
There's no way to add group as a field on the sign up, right? It's only phone number as an option.
Yeah. You can do it in the waiver step. So you can add a form, and you can have form data that you use. But you're really wanting it to be their first name.
Yeah.
Could you be more explicit in your instruction there about title or first name, as in, do you know what I mean? It's like it's title.
Yeah.
If you're a teacher, it's title. If you're a student, it's your first name.
The only challenge
Does
is I
that
might be relying on a 4th or 5th grader to follow those instructions. My confidence level in that working consistently is low.
So how do the ideal would be that you actually have like unique set signups, right? As in,
Yeah.
a different page
I
that
almost
people
need
go
a
to.
second sign up path that can add a tag that says volunteer, for example. So like there was another sign up page like that. And then I set it to volunteer. I'm thinking of other Obvio users. Maybe, there's an option to sign up in speaker as a speaker. This person is what we give this page to our guest speakers or sponsor or something like that, where they sign up.
And so everyone comes to the same sign up. But how does
Yeah,
it
no,
work?
what
Because
we
it's
do is,
classrooms too,
yeah,
right? Like,
yep. So teachers come to this page and then are immediately uh, redirected to the dashboard once they sign up. For students, we actually create a login called Awesome Student. No one ever sees that, but we send them this token then, and it says, students join here, and all the students, they post that in their Google Classroom, whatever. Everybody clicks that link, and then they're right in. But I need to
So then
have another
what is the
attendee, of
process
course.
then to bring someone on the stage? How do you communicate with them to get into Zoom directly?
Yeah. So right now we've just been using the sign up page. If the principal or whatever gives me the name ahead of time, then I will enter their name here. And then what I'm able to do in Stream Deck with the application I'm running is I can put a star, I can favorite them. So when it's time to bring them to the stage, they're always at the top. And so I just tap the button and it spotlights them next to me.
Yeah. It seems obviously, like pretty much with all of your use cases, it's an edge
Yes.
case. It's
I'm
always
a
very
ginge on the
creative.
fringe. You know this.
Yeah, exactly.
Living life on the edge.
Takes one to know one. So, um, uh, the student, you're trying to cover it for when don't know you don't know their name ahead of time, and then they have to
Correct.
follow the link.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the challenge is and then I've also had teachers give out the teacher link, like the sign up page to students.
Mm,
And so then the students are showing up as teachers, and I'm like, okay, one of these kids is the volunteer I'm supposed to call on stage. It's been pre-prepared that this is going to happen.
right,
I'm looking at 15 kids because they gave out the wrong link. Who the heck is this? You know, like I can't figure out who to
right.
choose. And we've tried different things to mitigate it, but I'm realizing that a second sign-in process that's, only for the student volunteer. And then I can even, add a star in front of the name or something like that if I want on on Zoom through Avio, stands out to me right away
I have
then.
an idea.
Yeah.
So am I right to understand that teachers, by using the sign up, they come onto the dashboard and their dashboard has an option for them to actually join Zoom. But
Yeah. I'll pull up the actual experience while you're talking, Muddy.
the students all, they only sign into the dashboard and they all sign in as the same user, awesome student. So
Exactly.
students just get to the dashboard. However, one
So here's the
student volunteer will have the option to use the sign up form and actually come into Zoom.
Yes. Yep. No
Okay.
other students show up in Zoom.
Okay.
Only the teachers.
So that's my understanding so far. So the idea that Grant had about you could have a form with one question that said, are you a student or a teacher? And that form would be added to the waiver step. There's no waiver, no signature required, but the form is required, right? So they sign up. The next step, the one-time onboarding step, they have to answer that one additional question on a second page, which says, are you a student or a teacher? Most of them will click teachers. And then they just go right through, no action. But if they select student, one of the label rules is a form response. So if their form response is student, then you could add a little light bulb next to their name as a label, right? So it would still say Mr. Johnson, but now Mr. Johnson has a light bulb next to his name, so you know he answered student on the waiver step.
That is an interesting workaround.
I was going to say workaround. Yeah, it is.
And I'm using Maestro, Muddy, which you're familiar with. And so I think the light bulb would show up on that, allowing me to search and find for it easily.
Yeah, it should. And you can use any other label you want, right? But it could be an icon or a label.
Yeah, I like that.
It will be their name in Zoom, so it will pass through to Maestro.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's at least some indicator, right? It may not be their correct first name. I always message them in chat because I have some videos that I play. So there's some video playback. So I always message the student, hi, what's your first name? And then I'll rename them real quick. But sometimes I don't get back to you and you're like, well, Mr. Jones, what's your first name? Clearly you're not a teacher. Play it off as a bit, but okay. Yeah, that gets me a little closer. Grant, let me ask you this from the Obvio end. Obviously, this is how I'm using it, edge use case, but do you see a second sign up path being beneficial for any other users, for like guest speakers, sponsors? I mean, I know we have Room Reg as an option, but I'm just wondering if you think that might appear on the development path at some point.
I don't think there's wide use case for that. And so there's probably a few other features that are ahead of that. That type of thinking. Oh, Muddy's got a light bulb gone off.
Got another idea, which is, does the student volunteer need the teacher dashboard, right? Because if they're using the sign up, they're going to get through to the teacher.
No,
what if you gave the student volunteer a room registration link? right?
Mm-hmm.
So that will just bring them straight into Zoom and won't bring them to the dashboard where they then join Zoom. It'll bring them right into Zoom. But
Yeah.
the fields are first name, last name, email. I mean, it looks pretty much exactly like the sign up form, but it is a separate thing. It's a separate form, and you can customize. You could have that say first name, student first name,
Yeah.
student last name,
Mm-hmm.
student email, and that would just
Yeah,
be
if you're
kind of
not using that.
further filters that, oh, if I'm a teacher, I'm probably on the wrong page, right? Because it's asking for a student. And then
I
they
think
would
that's
come
the
in.
answer. Just do room reg. I didn't think about that. They'll miss out on a couple things on the dashboard, but I mean, they get to come on stage, so it's the cool factor, right? And I could
Well,
always
they can still be
include.
signed into the awesome student dashboard. Like there's no
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
they couldn't do that, right?
They
Yep.
can.
This
They
is just
can.
how to get them into Zoom.
You can
Mhm.
also send them back to the dashboard after they've gone through room reg, because they're technically logged into Obvio at that point, right? So
Right.
you can actually just give them the standard link in Zoom. They can click it and they'll go straight back to the dashboard.
That's great. Cool. I think you guys solved the problem. Thank you.
I think that probably does work. I had wondered about room registration before, but I wasn't sure about your dashboard needs them going through that. The only other thought I had was about putting another form, like a custom form that you put on a website that then passes the URL parameters through to the login, right? So you can be
Sure.
really clear your student first name, whatever, that then goes to the login page. It's already pre-filled, and then they continue through, right? So it's a bit clearer.
Yeah.
So that's another way. And really, I mean, it's some very, very basic web development to take a simple form and then just take those fields and put them in the URL that you're sending it to.
Right.
That's very simple.
Yeah.
In fact, it's just a get form is what that is.
Okay.
So the method is get. Yeah. So that would be very simple, and then you can customize that however you want, make it super clear. And then on the login page, the sign up page, it can still say, teacher title / student first name,
Right.
as it pre-fills, because they've already done it. You can make it super big and really clear on that form, a custom form that you create. So that's another idea.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Love the Obvio brain trust when you get something
Yeah, that's
crazy
right.
like this you're trying to solve.
You got another question, I think, Jeff. Have you?
I do.
Emoji?
Remember what it was? Yeah. I don't. I just know I put a second one in there.
Go, Heather.
Yeah, you wanted to see if there is a test emojis button that can be installed that sends a flood of emojis for 30 seconds.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah. I'm having this problem where so how I have my Obvio computer connected with my page is on the other side of the studio. And so I'll try to go test something, and then it's like I got to get back over here. By the time I get over here, the emojis that I clicked have gone, or I can't tell what part of the screen or the size or whatever. And so I thought it'd be really interesting to have a test emojis or demo button that was send a flood for a period of like 10 to 30 seconds. So if we're testing something, or even for filming like B-roll, right? If you're promoting your event and you're trying to show what the experience is like, there you're in front of your screen, and you're doing your thing, and all the emojis are floating up, and everybody's getting excited, and you can film like a little promo video. I was like, that could be kind of cool for that too.
Look at you bolstering your feature request with lots of different options. Like that. It's a very good suggestion. I'm gonna put that in.
I don't know how hard that is to do, or if a bunch of us do that at once. I can't imagine that would affect your load much. But
to me, it sounds like you're trying to close the garage door from inside, and you're pressing the button, and then you got to run out the door before the garage
it's exactly
door
what
closes.
it's like. Yes. The other day, about tripped over a cord because I'm trying to get from way over there to over here, and because I have a bay of computers next to my switchers, and so if I need to pull in, playback or whatever, it's over in a spot and it's on a rack, and so it's just not convenient to put it somewhere else.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am gonna add that.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Cool.
There's something else we're playing around with too, and that is tying our emojis into the Zoom reactions. So that's something that may happen in the future as well, where we can they do a heart
Yeah.
emoji in Zoom, and it triggers in Obvio as well. So we're looking at that.
That is a feature I've been hoping for a really long time. So to tell you how I do it currently, I have, if I'm presenting to teachers, I have the emojis float up in front of me. I don't use Obvio's emojis at all, because
Right.
the problem is someone's trying to manage two different screens on the same device, right? I mean, that's why we would create this feature. Is they're trying to watch you on Zoom full screen, but then they also want to interact via the emojis, so they're constantly going back and forth. And then as a result, unless they have two devices or dual screens, they're not watching the presenter when they're actually interacting.
Yeah.
So it just creates friction. And so, but with students, they don't have access to Zoom. So they're just looking up, watching a smartboard or projector, watching me on the screen. And then they've got their little tablet or their smartphone and they're just tapping emojis through the whole thing. They get so distracted. I have to turn them on and off during parts of the presentation. But yeah, if there was a way to tie that in, that would be incredible. Because I prefer it on the backdrop. Like, it's nice to not have it cover the presenter. In fact, I find that people are much more likely, since I split test, how I do it for presentations. If I use Obvio emojis, way more interaction. If I use Zoom, you don't get as much interaction. And the reason why is their emojis, even though they're partially translucent, it covers up the presenter or the slides. So if people feel like their interaction is an interruption, versus if it's on the back wall, they don't feel like they're distracting. So I always notice there's way more emojis when I use Obvio. But then again, I know that going back and forth creates that, that challenge for people. So yeah, would love to see that happen.
Cool.
I don't know if that feedback is helpful, but since I use it both ways, I wanted to just share real quick.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, and I think your observations are spot on about that. And I think there is, particularly as when you scale, this is the thing that lots of people are doing smaller events. Emojis, are kind of, you could take it or leave it. But when you scale, and particularly when you don't have instant feedback from all the audience, they're not all in Zoom in your example, having people do emojis is a great feedback. Yeah. Yeah, we'll keep exploring it. It's things that we're just so you're kind of aware where we're kind of trying to head a little bit is building a custom app, a Zoom app, that sits within Zoom, and can handle a few different things. And it's just problematic for us at the moment, with permissions and all sorts. But we've been talking to Zoom at the highest level about it. It's just that we talk about your edge case. We're an edge case in the way that we use Zoom. So, but yeah, we're still hunting it down. If we can get that to work, then we've kind of got an automation path into lots of things, into Zoom. So that's what we're looking at.
All we really need is the Obvio community, the Leap community, and the office hours community to target Andy the next time he speaks.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think we can tip the scales.
We can win.
Yes.
That's right. Nice. All the best with that.
Thank you.
Cool. Another question, Heather?
There's one that's from yesterday. I think it's referring to Obi. She's not on this call, but Casey was wondering how to get to the blocks.
Okay. Yeah. Obi is a Leap feature only. And so I'll leave that to Leap to manage that, talk about that. Yeah, and Andy Carluccio is a guy who created a a way of controlling Zoom in an automation flow, being able to control it from different platforms and programming languages and things like that. And then was subsequently acquired. His company was acquired by Zoom, and so he's now worked for Zoom for a while. And so so you may have heard Zoom OSC and Zoom ISO as these names of these products that he created, and then Zoom acquired it. So which is amazing for him. He's a great guy. My claim to fame is that one time we were in this thing called After Hours, which is tied to this office hours group, and I was all excited about Zoom OSC, and so I jumped on and I started showing everyone a demo of Zoom OSC. I'm like, this is how it works, and this is what happens, and look how good this is. And I've just been playing around for an hour or so, but look what I'm able to do. Little did I know that Andy was on the call, was sitting there watching me demo his product to everyone else. And he was very gracious, but yeah, exactly. He was nice, but he was like, it actually was really cool to have someone else demo my product and see how they think about it and how they demoed it to other people, and it was great. He actually it even gets a little bit worse, because he was like, when I was sharing, I got a screen share infinite loop going accidentally, and Andy jumps on and says, "Oh, you just need to do this," and I was like, "Yeah, it's not my first rodeo." And so that was like even worse. It was like I fixed it quickly. I knew what to do to fix it, but little did I know that it was Andy, the creator of the program that I was demoing. So he actually even spoke, and I still didn't acknowledge the fact that. And then it dawned on me at one point. I'm like, I think the creator of this thing is Andy. A guy named Andy. And I'm like, oh no, it's not him, is it? Anyway. Enough of that. I think we might be fresh out of questions, are we, Heather?
But that story was worth the call, let's be honest.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, there you go. So you'll know that every now and again it comes up on office hours, and I'll say something to Andy like, "Hey, do you want me to take this demo, Andy?" I could do it for you. Yeah, there's a bit of that. I since had lunch with him. Andy is an awesome guy, and I was in San Francisco and got to have lunch with him and hang out. So it's pretty cool. It's a good group of people. Before the end of the yes, I did. Embarrassingly, I did know that it was him by the end of the call. So that was fun. Okay. So there's no more questions there. We've got a couple of hands raised. Muddy?
Yeah, so I have a question for you. I saw earlier in the chat, Gina Maria asked about connection to ClickFunnels 2.0. And I don't know if you have tried yet, but I can tell you what I found, because Tim Carroll has his first event coming up, and he uses ClickFunnels 2.0. And so he had been meaning to jump on these calls a few times to see if Blue could help him kind of get ClickFunnels connected. And it's not one of the direct integrations. And so you need to use Zapier. It turns out with ClickFunnels.
Well, hang on. Sorry, on that though, is it not a HubSpot, a white label of HubSpot? Not HubSpot.
No.
High level?
No.
I think it's definitely not.
It's definitely not. No, what you're thinking of is the Mastermind.
You're exactly right.
Business system, MBS.
Yeah, two things.
Yeah, no, ClickFunnels, completely separate product. 100%. And ClickFunnels 2.0 is kind of their latest, greatest version of that, right? So there's ClickFunnels Legacy or ClickFunnels Classic and ClickFunnels, and they actually show up as two separate things in Zapier, the regular ClickFunnels and ClickFunnels 2.0. And what it turns out is that ClickFunnels 2.0 has relatively limited things that you can do directly through the Zapier integration, right? So the way Zapier works is you need a trigger and an action. So when one thing happens, then this other thing happens. Ideally, the way many Zapier integrations would work with Obvio is that when a tag is applied to a contact, then send them over to Obvio and create a new attendee record. And then you would have a second step that says then send the login URL back. However, adding a tag to a contact is not one of the triggers that is available in the ClickFunnels 2.0 Zapier integration. Now, the story has a good ending, but it's a little bit more advanced. Most of the triggers in ClickFunnels 2.0 have to do with courses, like if someone, or purchases. If someone has purchased a thing or subscribed to, signed up for a subscription, or they've been added to a course, those are kind of the built-in triggers. So none of those are kind of ideal to set up for, registering for an event, potentially buying a ticket and making a purchase, but still it's not as clean as you would want. However, the good news is ClickFunnels 2.0 has an API that covers almost everything in ClickFunnels 2.0, and there is relatively detailed documentation about their API. And so what you would have to do is you would have to create a webhook. So when something happens, like a tag, then a webhook is activated, and then Zapier catches the webhook and then does the thing, and then adds the message attendee. So there's a way to do it in ClickFunnels, and I think I'm meeting with Tim tomorrow. I'm going to try and get him walk through the process. So I've looked at it. I haven't actually stepped through it yet, but it's kind of a two-step process in order to get it to work. And webhooks require a Zapier Pro account, a paid account. But webhooks are relatively easy to use in Zapier is the good news, and because there's good documentation. So anyway, it's possible with ClickFunnels 2.0, and it's part of the reason I bring it up. Not only did Gina Marie ask about it, it's a relatively popular platform for registration funnels, right? For events, because you can have VIP upgrades and you can have order bumps and some kind of more advanced funnels for registering people to your event. So it's one of the kind of ones that's mentioned often within Leap, especially. And it was just mentioned in Ticket Lab yesterday. So anyway, when I finally get it figured out and worked, it might be another good video to make how to actually do that, because it's for future me. Every time I need to go back and figure it out again, I can just watch the video I made. And so anyway, that's the deal with ClickFunnels 2.0.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. It makes me think if we, we'll create an integration for 2.0 to save all those steps, right? I'm just making a note to follow up. Because yes, exactly what you're saying. It's like it is a great platform, and an obvious connection through to Obvio, right? So yeah, I'll find out. Cool. Anything else? Do we have anyone? Just got the faithful few here now. I am thinking about doing a Monday morning, next Monday morning, just to throw that in every now and again, just to see how what people we get along, because there are a few in Europe and stuff that are able to join then. Hey, John.
Hey, Grant. I'm new, so most of the time when I'm online, I'm listening because I don't even know the questions to ask. Other people asking questions teach me things. But I
Yeah.
did learn recently that Leap will build out my first dashboard, and I think that's pretty
Mhm.
cool. So then the question becomes, when should I do that? When should I begin doing that?
Hmm. Yeah, so Heather works on that, and so I guess the thing that I would say is the moment that you know about your event, and have some, maybe you've got some logos or images or colors and bits and pieces. If you've got that together, then as soon as you have, then you can send it through. Is that fair to say, Heather?
Yeah, give yourself, I mean, the minimum that you want to do is at least 2 weeks before, and that's definitely not recommended, but
Hmm.
I would not tell you to try to submit for something if your event is next week. Like that's not going to work out. It's going to cause everyone a headache. But to get it done as soon as possible, like once you have everything is good, but make sure you have stuff. Make sure you have images that you want to use and you play around on Obvio and know what kind of template, because it's going to ask for logos, for speaker information, for color schemes, and any images that you have. So it's just once you have all that stuff prepared, you can just email the Leap team.
So is there a list of the things that you just rattled off?
The Leap team will actually send you a link, and in that link, it will have all the items that they have for options for you to upload. It's run through the Leap program. I don't have access to it. I just get it
Oh,
once it's all submitted to help build it. But it's just basic stuff. There's no sizes or anything, but it's your event logo. And it'll walk you through. So they send you a link that tells you all the things and you're able to upload it in there.
okay. Yeah, my event at the earliest will be December 5th, 6th, and 7th. Um, and that just depends on whether I get my act together, get everything done before then. Um, but I do know, this sparked an idea, and I want to be able to begin at the very least collecting the data that you're going to need to do this thing. And
I
so,
will
go ahead.
take a
Yeah.
look on like a template, like set up a just a test template in Avio and use there's a choice to use information that's already granted in there. So it's not completely blank. It has sample data. I would just set that up and then go through all the pages and see what you want to use and what you do want to use, what information you want to put in there. Like we're going to ask you for like a sample blog. So if you look at your welcome message on the front page, you can take a look through that kind of stuff and see what you actually want to use, what you like best. And then you'll start seeing images as well. And then you can see what images that you'll want to have and then that you'd want put into those spaces. And that's what you'll end up giving us to go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I would
Yeah.
also, I mean, one of the challenges that I have, and I don't know if anybody else has this challenge, but walking through a test template like that, deciding what I want or don't want because I don't know what is good or not good. It's a challenge.
I would say on that, less is more.
Okay, well,
if
see, that's good advice. So thank you.
Yeah, I think about it in the sense that just because you can have, more content there, if it's not coming from a place that um that you're thinking about your event and your people, and that you're really wanting to offer this, particular content for them, if it doesn't come from that, and it's being driven from, oh, I can do this, oh, I can turn this on, I think it just becomes noise, right? And it comes across that way because now it's like, oh, I just turned all these features on because it was there. Versus, what is it that I'm trying to communicate? What is it that I'm trying to achieve and make really clear to the people that are coming to this event? Um, so we have all of these features because we've had a need for it, not because not the other way around. You get the distinction. I really think when we were like, everything you see here, sample blog post, well, that was like, there was an event that we're doing. It's like, oh, we really need to be able to post a video that is a recap from the day before. Okay. Or we want to put a welcome video in. And so we built that function out to see how the driving
I'm gonna
motivation.
jump in just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you just mentioned a couple things. I think they were great. I want to put a video in that is a recap of yesterday. I want to put a video in that's a welcome. But in
Yep.
my stage, I don't know that I even want to do that.
Yeah.
Right. It's just really hard. So there's I'm looking at this, I'm going, well, this is sort of a macro view, and I appreciate having the macro view, but what's the minimum? How do you decide on what you really need to run an event? Because I've never done one before.
That's a really good question. And it's very valid. Ultimately, the bare minimum that you need is a dashboard with a button on it that goes into Zoom, right? And I've done a large scale event. We did an event with 16 different languages, and so it was super complicated thinking about doing all the translation for the content. So we literally had a dashboard with a big play button, had no text, and it was they clicked the button in the middle and it went into Zoom. Now there was lots going on in the background. We knew their language, and so then it went to the right language Zoom meeting, and it was all complex from that point of view. But from the attendees' point of view, it was a play button, and that's what an Obvio dashboard can be. So if you start from the bare minimum, is the purpose of Obvio is to create a home for the event before, during, and after your event. So it's not just another Zoom link that people get sent in their email inbox that they get all day long. This is a unique event. It's like, oh, this is different. Oh, and now I've got this dashboard. Oh, this is a cool, a better experience for me than just I click the Zoom link and now it says waiting for host to start the meeting. What a terrible experience, right?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to ask another question. I liked your description of creating a home before, during, and after the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what does the home look like? Like, what are we trying to accomplish with this home?
Yeah. So then I'd be asking questions about what does your tell me about your event. Like what is it that you'll do in December?
I will teach there's actually two different things. So I'll tell you one of them that has more clarity, right? But it's really about how to attract, acquire, and retain top talent. So the problems that I'm trying to solve is that business leaders are struggling to find high-end talent. And the reality is high-end talent is when you have that kind of talent on your team, it takes your business where you want to go so much faster. Whereas most small, especially in the small business owner, right? Because they don't have an HR team, they don't have all that other kind of stuff. And so they have this tendency, because there's not a lot of time, to just kind of grab the first thing that shows up on the street that says they could do it. And often that's a train wreck. And so what I'm really trying to tell them is, look, let's take the time and get the right person in there, because the right one makes all the difference in the world.
Right.
That's the event.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's great. And is this a free event or is it a paid event?
Well, I was going to go with the $97 thing, but I've never done one before, so it's like it could be either one.
Yeah, that's cool. You back yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think you put your perspective from the people that have already signed up, whether it was free or paid. You've already sold them, right? They're already coming to your event and they've come to the dashboard. At that point, what is helpful for them to see before they get into your event? So that content is not necessarily like it's not sales information,
right?
Because you've already sold them, right? You don't need to keep selling and keep saying, this is what, this is what you're going to learn, XYZ. It's like, okay, I already know. That's why I've signed up. So at that point, they're in. If we think about it in the in-person event, what is it that they see in the lobby? What's the ideal when they've walked into the lobby of your event? What do they see? Do they have some extra information about who you are, which is like the speakers page, right? It's like extra bio information, things that's helpful for them to be aware of, that builds credibility. And I know from my point of view, I'm thinking about what's the distinction between selling them at that point and then just general knowledge that helps them for the event. What's helpful for them to know when they first get in?
Yeah. So the difference between selling them and serving them.
Nice. Yep.
Okay. I think so that gives me some clarity. And
Yeah.
there are some tools and things that I could put there that would be helpful for them to have access to when they want to during the event.
100%. And something that's really simple is, what's the times? What's the times of your event? Yeah. It's just like, now Blue and Barry speak highly intelligently about how much information you put on that schedule, because you don't want to be bound to that schedule, because it's an online event. It should not be restricted by time and space. And it also, the more detail that you put in of your schedule, the more optional it becomes for people, right? And it's like, I don't care about that session. I care about this next session. And then, so it's better to be more general. And here's just the general times. And because it's a function of the Obvio platform there, that it's doing a conversion to their time zone as well, right? So it's showing it in their time zone. That can be really helpful. When people can just be, it's like, where is this coming from? What times? Just people get very anxious about time zones. And so having that clearly there is really good. And then of course, like, there's downloadable resources. Is there some sort of PDF that you like to make available, or is there a workbook, or is there, something that that you like people to have when they're going? And so that's the clear thing. And that now there's more and more where people can create the door handle signs that say, I'm in session now, don't interrupt me, or whatever it is, right? They're all great ideas, but is that what you need right now? Possibly not, right?
Right.
Because you don't want to get distracted, and this comes back to a point I'm always talking about. You don't want to get distracted by doing a whole bunch of these things that possibly no one will really notice or care about, which distracts you from creating a better event, where you're really honing in your content and thinking about how you're engaging people, and you're doing that. That's the key things that people are going to remember. They're not going to care too much about how pretty your dashboard looked or whatever, right? So,
right.
But you've got time on your side, which is great, and you've got a free build for you, which is awesome too. So now you just get clear about what's going to serve those people best, and then you're going to learn a bunch from this first event, and you'll know next time, I need to add this, I want to do this, and whatever.
Right. Okay. So another question popped up in my head. You said before, during, and after the event. Is it the same dashboard with minor changes before, during, and after, or is it like you have 3 different dashboards?
No, it's exactly the same dashboard, and it's exactly the same unless you create differences, right? As in,
well, the recap video, for example, right?
Yep.
That would be a difference during the event. Right.
That's
so if
right.
there was a
Yes.
recap video, so that would be something that, we would make an adjustment during the event where we would update the dashboard. or if there was something that came up and we promised a resource, we could plug it in there or something of that sort.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And all of those things can be scheduled, or they can be hidden, and then you're enabling them on the dashboard, right? So you could have a recap post, because we call that a blog post, right? On that page. It's just a generic term we use, blog post. It's not really a blog, right? But it just looks like that. So what you can do is you can set a new blog post to appear at 6 a.m. on day 2, or midnight on day 2, or whatever it is. And now when they come back, the first thing they see is, day 1, or welcome to day 2, day 1 recap, or, whatever that is. And that can be a really helpful thing. And now, and there's 2 things that you could do with that content. One is that you can create it before your event, because you know roughly what you're going to be doing on day 1, and you can have it all it's all done and ready. Or you can do, which can work really well too, is you can shoot a video at the end of day 1 and say, hey, just wanted to give you a little recap. This is what we covered off. It was great when we heard from John and Muddy. We had a great conversation about XYZ. Really looking forward to diving into that more with John on day 2. That type of thing that's really engaging. And if people come early, then that's the sort of thing that they see. So that's just an example of what can be used with a video, or just text. This is what day 2's roughly going to be. Remember to do this. Have you done your homework from day 1 where you thought about XYZ? Make sure you've got that ready. So those sorts of things that really support what you're doing in your event, and is valuable information. It's not just there because you can. Everything's pointing to the direction that you want people to go in.
So I'm watching the chat over here a little bit too. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to pay more attention to you because you're actually talking and I'm engaged. But I'm also there's totally stuff over there. And then so post.
Mm-hmm.
How long is post?
It is as long as you have an Obvio subscription. As long as you've still got an Obvio account, the dashboard is available for.
So anybody that signed up for the first event has access to that dashboard forever?
They do. Now you would likely create a unique event for each time, right? So if you put on your first event in December, and then my next one's in February, you may duplicate that event in Obvio. Right. So now you've got a new one that's your February event. Your December one is still sitting there.
Okay.
Right. And people, you have unlimited events on Obvio, right? So you can just create as many as you want. Now you've got a unique list of attendees. The attendees that came to the December event could go back to it by following a link in an email. They could go back to the dashboard anytime, and they're going to see the full summary or whatever you had of made available for them. Yeah. And all the calls to action and stuff are all still sitting there. Meanwhile, your February event is in a pre-state where it's ready for people to get started, or whatever, to look at the content.
Yeah. So well, this is really helpful because I having not had any experience, I've got at least kind of a picture of how this can work. No expertise yet, but a picture of the this is what I would call the marquee of the event.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and that's where it all starts, right?
And registration is in there somewhere too.
Yeah, so depending on how you're selling the event, and also if it's paid or not, there's a new feature called Marketplace in Obvio, which is still in beta, but we're getting really close to it not being in beta, and that is just a sales page, and it has there's a whole video about Marketplace that we can send you. And incidentally, the free dashboard setup does not include setting up a marketplace sales page. That is a separate process. So the sales page, just the basic functions of it are that you create tickets, different ticket types, and then you create a sales page with all your whatever you want, videos, lots of text, pictures of speakers, whatever. Typical long, you see these enrollment-based events, they're big, long.
It's a sales
and
page.
they have calls to action all the way down to get people to buy. So that's what we have built in order for you to be able to sell your tickets, and then they're able to buy it. You set up a Stripe account. That's as the payment provider. We don't touch money at all. That just goes through Stripe into your Stripe account. And the ticket is sold, they purchase, and now they are created as an attendee in Obvio. Now, from that point is when you would you get closer to your event, and you can send out emails to the dashboard to get people to come and look at it, and reminders to come on the days.
So I'm reminded of a concept called of tech check, right? Does that go into the dashboard? Is that a feature of the dashboard?
Yes.
So when they get there, they got to go to that first before they can enter the stage. But basically, we just want to make sure they got all their stuff right so they can experience the event effectively.
That's right. Yep. And a few years ago that was really important because it was less likely that people knew how to use Zoom or had
not
Zoom
as bad
installed,
now.
things like that. It's not as bad. But it can be a really helpful process for people in actually it's the registration desk, it kind of the idea, and it's the first impression that people get of your event, and they get a human touch. It's like this because they're jumping into a Zoom call to make sure it's all working. And so
when you go to a live event, you go to registration and you get a name badge and you get some handouts.
Exactly.
And that's how that's what I'm thinking that really represents, because it's the start of their experience.
100%. Yeah. And people often comment when we have a tech check event that they were really surprised to have a human interaction when they were just finishing their registration process. And particularly when you do it a day before or 2 days before, and so it's just a final check, make sure everything's okay. If the tech check's working, then you'll know that the event is going to work. Particularly if you're doing things like breakout room sessions, where people are going to go into breakout rooms, if they already have tech checked and they know that their microphone's working and the speaker's working and that all that's working, it means that when they go into breakout rooms, you're confident it's going to work because they've been through a quick check.
Right.
So we have the ability to turn on and turn off tech check. And sometimes we do both during the event. Sometimes we only do tech check the day before, and then once it comes to day of, we turn off tech check, and now they just come straight in. And so arguably, the 50% of the people that came to the tech check had a great experience, and nothing changes that. The people that didn't come, they just have their experience of coming to the event on the day, and so sometimes you can kind of do a balance of both. Or if you've got the team, you can run tech check on the day of as well. And we've done that. Even people have come in, the event has already started, we still do tech check. And that's kind of a nice way too, where it's almost like they've come to the door and we're able to just give them a quick, hey, we're just doing a quick tech check, make sure you can hear and all that's working. Just to let you know, we're 15 minutes already into the session. You haven't missed very much. We've just said about XYZ. All right, in you go. That's a really nice experience.
I like that. Well, I was thinking like sort of I guess it's an extended registration or a lobby feature, right? Where they can go and they can talk to somebody and ask questions. Now I know when
we often call that help desk. Help desk is often what we call that. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just another Zoom meeting, and you can sort of funnel tech check into the help desk.
Right.
is a way to do it as well. So
I had one other question. So when I was at TVE on TVE, there was this, when the offer was made, there was an opportunity to talk to somebody. What do we call that? There was an opportunity to, outside of the event itself, to actually have a conversation with somebody.
Enrollment lobby, maybe?
Maybe that, yeah. Okay. And that's a feature of the dashboard as well, but it's something that really wouldn't show up until that time frame.
Two ways of doing that, right? Is that you want to, firstly, it depends on how large your event is, how many people you have.
Yeah, I don't think mine's going to be, I'm looking for 40 or 50 people.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So often on our larger events where we have multiple rooms going, so as in more than 1,000 people at the event, by necessity, we need to have a separate Zoom meeting that they join, so that all these people that have come from multiple rooms are able to join this separate room as an enrollment lobby or as a sales, a sales booth, or there's lots of terms we've used. A smaller event, generally kind of 500, 600 under that, you can do a few different things, and that is where you could use breakout. You could have a breakout room that's sitting there within the Zoom meeting that people are able to go and ask questions, and like that sales enrollment process. You can have that because you can, within Zoom, you can have a breakout room or multiple breakout rooms that are available for people to join of their own accord. And so that's another way of handling it, rather than a totally separate Zoom. But that a totally separate Zoom also works. But I just kind of raise that as another way. When you're working within one Zoom meeting, you can do a few things that means that people aren't quite having to find their way back to the dashboard. Sometimes they get a bit lost with that, and going off to another Zoom meeting. And then how do they get back to that main meeting again? Whereas when you do it within a breakout room within one Zoom meeting, it's a bit easier to manage. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm thinking that it almost feels like a flow chart type thing. Like when this happens, it could go these two directions. And, this may not be available, but, sort of a best practices flow chart for a small event, for a 20 to 40 person event, for this size event, that would just be very helpful for me, because then I would have a template I would have more understanding and more of a guide that says, yeah, okay, I want to create this, and this. Now as I do more, I'll get smarter. I can do, I'll know enough to be able to make good decisions. Right now, it's just, I'm feeling like I'm heading in. I've got, I'm ready, but I know there's lots of opportunity to, there's a lot that I don't know. That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's lots that you do know though, and I think you're asking the right questions, and you're also ultimately you just want to get down to what's your minimum viable product right now.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, like what is just the thing that I can do, and what is going to be the thing that really connects people with me, what supports that, and then the key will be that you'll have 100 ideas after your first event. And the key to that would be shrinking that down to just the 3 or 4 changes that you're going to make.
Well, that's the classic. What am I putting in release 2.0, right? There's 1,000 ideas, 1,000 features, and you can't do 1,000 of them. So, all right, listen, totally. I really appreciate it. And I'm seeing somebody put event flowchart doodle, but I think that's a product.
Right. Yes.
No, that's a note to self to put together flowchart. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Did you have some thoughts as well, Muddy?
Yeah, I just wanted to call out, and I take responsibility for filling the Zoom chat as you were having a conversation with Grant. But a couple of the things I put in there I wanted to alert you to. One is I put in the link to It looks like my guard dog is coming awake. I put in a link to the dashboard creation page.
I
right?
saw
So
that.
Grant was saying that they'll
Leap.
send you
Yeah, that's
that.
great.
I also dropped these in our Facebook Messenger thread as well, so that they're available after the event. And the other thing is the experiment checklist, which is kind of a 6-week checklist of what to do in what order for your first event.
Right. Oh,
Something
awesome.
that Leap created.
And I see the
Thank you, mate.
Sage Hub
That's
Leap
great.
Obvio dashboard. I saw something about experiment in here a minute ago.
Well, I asked about it, but I don't have a link to the file, so I actually put the file as an attachment into our Facebook Messenger thread.
Okay.
And also offered to connect with you tomorrow. I was supposed to be running an event this weekend that got moved, and so my day is more open tomorrow than I was expecting. So if you have time, I'm happy to kind of jump on a 30-minute call and answer any.
I totally appreciate that, but
I
I'm out of town tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, no worries.
I
No
wasn't
worries.
necessarily even going to have this conversation, but it seemed to be open and available, so I took it.
And there was a
Great.
ton of useful stuff that is going to be useful to a lot of other people in your situation. So I'm glad we
There
had
are other
that
people. I'm not the only newbie. So okay.
That's right.
Listen, thanks a bunch, guys.
No, and this was exactly what these calls are for. Exactly. And so that was great. We'll do it all again next week.
Well, I'll let somebody else with questions jump in.
Fair enough. Anyone else? Do you know, it's funny. We never feel like we're going to fill up the 2 hours, and then we do. Sorry, Heather. You must be hungry. Need some get some dinner in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can wait 8 more minutes though.
Well done. Well done. Anyone else? Any other comments, questions? All right. So I'll just need to get clear about trying to do a 8 a.m. Eastern on Monday. And we'll just see how long it goes. But that's when we'll be here. I thought I'd just try another one.
Well, 8 a.m.
That's
Eastern
optional.
is 5 a.m. Western. That's not going to work for me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not so much for guys on the West Coast, but it works well for the Europeans and the East Coast. Sometimes it works well, surprisingly, and Monday as well. First thing Monday, I was surprised how people liked it. So it's all good. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Muddy. Had a few answers. You asked questions that you knew the answers to, and you answered other people's questions. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you, Heather. And we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, if not Monday morning. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.